Hey everybody, this is Jeannie, and I am doing a book haul today, but a very special themed book haul on Minnie chewing up her bone. Yep, that's never gonna work. Okay, let's try this again. Welcome everybody. I wanted to share this video with you because it is almost winter time. We are nearing the cold season when there is much less to do in the garden, but my mind never stops thinking about the outdoors and being outside and really wanting to celebrate that. And for years, I was looking for books that captured that kind of feeling of being outside, especially in the garden. And I found it really hard to find books that satisfied that urge for me. So if you're anything like me and you really love to read in the fall and winter time, then this is a book haul for you. The first book I wanted to mention is All the President's Gardens by Martha McDowell. I found out about Martha McDowell from the podcast Cultivating Place, which is also a great recommendation for garden lovers. And she writes books on the history of gardens, and she just released one about Emily Dickinson's garden. So that's another recommendation, but one that I haven't read yet. This book definitely fulfills my political science nerd little heart and my garden nerd heart. So it has obviously a lot of detail about the gardens of the presidents throughout history. And if you know anything about the White House gardens, they're kind of a big deal, right? And they have a history that is as varied as the presidents that we've had in that building. So it's very intriguing, at least for me, somebody who's really into American history and politics. So obviously, as you can see here, tons of illustrations and photographs, just a lot to take in. So I really recommend this book. It's a great little introduction, especially for you political science nerds. And if you're trying not to think about politics right now or presidents, this is a great recommendation. This is one of the first garden books that I ever discovered. It is from Penelope Lively, and it is called Life in the Garden. This is a fantastic little book on our relationship to our gardens, the different types of gardens that you might see in Europe and America. Ooh, it's just so lovely. And the way she writes truly captures the way that I feel about gardening. It's a little poetic, it's a little magical, and I just love it. I actually got this book on audiobook and then found it in like a dollar bin at my local bookstore. So I just had to buy it. I had to own it because it's something that I love to return to. So Penelope Lively, Life in the Garden. Next we have a gem of a book and a little bit of a laugh. This book is called Sex in the Garden by Angela Overy. Yes, her last name is Overy. This is a very cute little book that talks about reproduction in the garden. It takes the biological side of things into account, just about, you know, how reproduction occurs in the garden. It's a very cute, accessible, and just funny way of demonstrating that. So this is not a book you're gonna like cozy up next to the fire with for a long period of time. It's a pretty small little bite here, but it does talk about the reproductive organs of plants and gets kind of weird. So I wanted to just throw this one in as a fun little, you know, example of a garden book that is kind of funny. Next up, I have Placemaker by Christie Purifoy, or Purifoy. Anything by her is absolutely wonderful. She writes sort of spiritual tomes on her life remodeling an old house and its grounds. And I just, once again, somebody that really captures that beautiful, magical feeling that we get in the garden. She's somebody else that I discovered on the podcast Cultivating Place. So if you are into, just lovely writing that is a little bit more spiritual, about taking care of land and restoring an old home, it's a lovely, lovely little bite. I have considered using some of her writings as readings in Grow Fellowships. So if you're a fellowship facilitator, check out a couple of her books. She has another book called Roots and Sky, which came out before Placemaker. And they both have smaller sections of readings. They're usually about a page and a half. And they might be useful for you if you find a couple that really resonate for the Grow Fellowships as well. So that's Placemaker, Christie, Purifoy. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Monty Dawn, because Monty Dawn is my gardening hero. And I didn't even know that this was something that he had done when I first discovered Monty Dawn as a person and started looking for some of his books on eBay. But I came across his book about starting a recovery farm. What are the odds? What are the odds? Starting a recovery farm in England. And, it's a wonderful little book. It's a wonderful little book. It's called Growing Out of Trouble by Monty Dawn. And it shares his experiences starting and the first year and a half of his recovery farm. It even has writings from clients. It has like journal entries and things, and it's just, it's so wonderful. I got a lot of inspiration from this when we were sort of transitioning the grow model from our farm to the fellowship program, and I have to recommend it. Really, truly, anything by Monty Dawn. He's just lovely. He has that sort of, I wouldn't say necessarily like a spiritual bent to his gardening, but certainly has a deep, loving connection to the earth that really translates into anything that he writes, and truly just appreciates the beauty of nature. So, love Monty Dawn. Anything by Monty Dawn, but this is his book specifically on starting a recovery farm. So, and we're narrowing it down. We have 2 left. These are 2 works of fiction that really had an impact on my life. One more so than the other, but truly love them both. So the next is Elizabeth Gilbert's The Signature of All Things. This is a fictional work that talks about evolution and the relationships really between humans and plants, and just a fantastic work of fiction. It's a little bit bigger of a novel, so it's definitely something that you can cozy up to by the fire on a winter day and really just enjoy. It's a big recommendation when people ask me about, books related to nature. And finally, this book possibly changed my life. That's a little bit dramatic, but when I think of books that have shifted the way that I think about the natural world and our relationship to the natural world, this book always comes up. So this is Barbara Kingsolver's Prodigal Summer. If you read no other books on this list, please read this book. You can probably get it relatively cheap on Amazon or eBay. You may even be able to find it at a local bookstore. It's not one of her most well-known works of fiction. Barbara Kingsolver also wrote Pigs in Heaven, The Poisonwood Bible. Those books, you've probably heard of The Poisonwood Bible if you've heard of any of her works. But you can think of Prodigal Summer as a modern Silent Spring. If you're familiar with that work, that was one of the works of literature that truly shifted and changed America and the world's way of thinking about the environment and environmentalism. And this book is sort of a modern answer to that. And it talks about hunting practices. It talks about the plant genetics and how we're shifting plant genetics. It's truly just an amazing work of fiction. It follows, I think, 4 stories that discuss different things. One is on a farm, a couple are on farms, and one is a woman who is like a wildlife ranger in a park. It's just, I cannot recommend this book enough. You have to check this book out. So wonderful. Prodigal Summer by Barbara Kingsolver. All right, that's my list, and I would love to know what gardening or nature books are on your list of favorites so that I can take them all in and enjoy this internal garden that we cultivate in the winter. Please let me know in the comments, and I hope that you find something from this list that inspires you and keeps you going through the cold winter months. Thank you so much.